What's up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker here in St. Augustine, Florida, coming at you every Wednesday at 8 p.m., going over the market stats, the local news that you need to know about, and at the end, doing a Q&A. So if you do have any questions, if you're watching it live, if you're watching the replay, go ahead and fire those questions off in the comments below. I'm here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. just to help you guys out and kind of interact with you. So if you do have any questions, don't be shy. Someone's probably thinking about the same question that you may have. So go ahead and leave that in the comments below. But like we do every single week, we're going to start off with the market stats for our area here and just cover that for a quick second, just so we can stay consistent. And at the same time, if you're kind of want to get an idea of the market on your own, you can go back to previous weeks. And at the beginning of every single week, I've covered the same exact thing for the most part within with being reasonable. Sometimes I might forget to cover one or two things, but hey, that happens. Let's go ahead. I'll share my screen here. We'll take a look at the market stats for the entire northeastern Florida area. All right, let's take a look at the total amount of homes on the market here, guys. All right, so this is all of northeastern Florida, and it looks like we still haven't found the bottom of our inventory yet. Typically, in the winter months, the holiday season, we don't see as many people listing their homes, right? And you see this number here, 5609. That number typically bottoms out in February, where that's where the least amount of listings on the market will be. We still haven't hit bottom yet, guys, in terms of when listings are going to start actively picking up. And part of that I'm going to cover here in a few seconds with a lot of the news stories that are now being picked up by the mainstream media, which I think are really important to cover. So let's go back to the main page here, and I'll cover what we do every single week. And of course, we have a lot of stuff going on this week. Of course, the bank failures that being propped up by the Fed. So everything's okay, I guess, now, but who knows what's going on anymore. I've kind of just, for myself, I'm a buyer in this market, and I'm just like, hey, I'm going to do what I want to do anyway. I'm just going to quit worrying about all this stuff going on. So either way, new listings, let's look at the past week here. 24 hours isn't a great indicator. So new listings in the past week, we have 1,051 new listings and closed 881. So let's just say that's 8 out of 10. So out of every new listing coming to the market, 8 are closing. Okay, and then we have new listings to pending and contingent taking back up. So let's just call that the under contract field. So you got 1051 to 945 and 446. So, I mean, let's call that 1,300 right there. So for every 10 homes coming on the market, let's say 11 homes coming on the market, 13 are going off the market. And then also with that number, so we have 291 coming back on the market. So we had 1,300 go under the market with the pending and the contingent taking back up. And then some of those homes fell back on the market, 291 of those homes in this past week. So things are definitely changing our market, and price changes actually are a little bit less than new listings coming to the market. And that's probably because we still have a very low inventory comparatively to the area that we have here. Let's take a look at one of those next news stories here, which I think is going to roll right into exactly what we've been saying about interest rates and about demand here in our area, and why the crash that everyone's expecting to happen, 6 months ago, a year ago, has not happened yet. And that a lot of that has to do with the housing inventory in general across the United States, but especially here in St. Augustine, Florida. So let's take a look at this report here. And this report rings true with me, which is something I can't believe I didn't even bring up here. But this is from Fortune magazine. Homeowners who held on to 3% mortgage rates are becoming accidental landlords. Oh my gosh, I literally just read this. Oh, you're killing me. Okay, well, the basic of this is saying that the people who got interest rates at the 3%, so those people that bought during the previous to the pandemic and also during the pandemic, got a really healthy interest rate. Actually, 99% of people have an interest rate lower than 6%. So that means that pretty much every homeowner, when they're comparing interest rates to today's market, is like, man, it's a lot more than I paid for. So 70% of people that have a mortgage have an interest rate under 4%. Now, if you do the math on that, it's pretty significant. Pretty much can save you like $600 to $1,000 a month, depending on your average sale here in northeastern Florida. So that's a good bit of money. But either way, so the people who locked in that 3% mortgage rate across the entire United States, opposed to losing that mortgage rate, they're going to hold on to it. And maybe they are going to buy another property, but what they're going to do is they're going to rent out that property with that 3% mortgage rate because they're cash flowing on it. The example here is that this person's going to cash flow $1,000 on their old home when they go and buy their new home. So in a way, that would kind of offset the large increase in interest rate that they have today. Or at least it puts a little bit of money in their pocket. And this rings true for me personally, because I'm a buyer in this market and we're going to be renting out our townhome when we leave here. And when we leave here, we're going to be probably getting around $600 to $700 a month, being conservative. So then that's just going to be on top of what we're getting for the rent. So that's going to be a big add to us in terms of our monthly housing expenses on our next place. So that's something that we're really looking forward to. And why would we sell it? It doesn't really make much sense when we have such a good mortgage interest rate and rents are significantly higher than what we're paying for the mortgage. So like myself, many other people are thinking that same thing, which also leads to that inventory problem that we were talking about, right? There's not enough homes on the market, right? That's why we haven't seen prices crash, and that's a big deal. So why there's not going to be more homes coming on the market when you have people who are like, I'm going to compare and contrast. They don't want to be a landlord, but they're not going to move because they have a 3%, 4% interest rate. They don't want a 6 or a 7% interest rate. And then you have the people who need to move, and they're going to keep their house anyway and then make it a rental. So it's not going to come onto the market for people to buy it. It's going to be a rental under that person because they had such a good interest rate. And if typically inflation is 3% year over year, it's right now at 6%, they pretty much are in the money. So like myself, we're not going to be selling our townhome here. So a lot of homeowners are now looking to hold on and become landlords on accident. So I think that's a really interesting story. Kind of goes to show what's going on here in the market, nationally, but here locally as well. I was up in New Jersey this past weekend. I had 2 weddings to go to, and I'm still exhausted. I haven't recovered. 2 weddings this past weekend, and I also stopped and I saw one of my friends out in Somerville, New Jersey, and his name's Ed Stulak. He's with Real Brokers. He runs a 12-person team in Central and North Jersey. He's a stud. But we were talking about the market, and he said the market up here for your basic entry-level home, you're getting 35 offers on one home. And he's like, if you're in North Jersey, that's going to be 60 offers on basic entry level, moving home, nothing special about it. It's just that competition is still so thick there. I was blown away. I couldn't believe that. But it doesn't seem that demand is being suppressed as much as we're being alluded to think so. So let's go on to the next news story, guys. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments below. We'll chug along here to the next one. Boom. Okay, now this is one of the reasons, and this is something that I've been talking about, is that as a buyer in today's market, you are able to you're allowed to be a lot more aggressive than you were this time last year. So a recent Redfinn report indicated that during the 3 months ending in February 2023, home sellers gave concessions to buyers in 45.5% of home sales compared to 31% last year. So more than half of home sales, the seller has given some type of concession. On top of that, I think it's like 25%. 25% of the home sales included a seller concession and also a seller price adjustment. So what exactly is a seller concession, right? So a seller concession is the seller contributing to your closing costs a lot of the times, or possibly a rate buy down, right? So for buyers that I've worked with, we've had them contribute money to their closing costs so they keep more cash in their pocket today. In some instances, if you're putting for FHA, for example, you can ask for up to 6% in closing costs contributed to you. So you can use that 6% of the purchase price. So let's say it's $300,000, that's $18,000. You can use that to pay off your closing costs, which is typically 3.5%. And then you can also use that additional money to buy down your rate, which obviously in today's market is a big deal because interest rates are between 6 and 7%. So if you can buy down that at all, it's going to save you, 1, on the monthly, but 2, in the long run, over 30 years of interest, correct? So I think that's a really interesting article there. 45%. So that means that pretty much half of them are giving up concessions here in today's market. And that's because they have to, because of the interest rates in today's market, how drastically things have changed in the past year, and also what's going on in the entire world. I mean, we're living in crazy town. It seems like every other day you got to stay up on some news story about inflation or banks failing. Just doing my best out here, guys. We're all riding this roller coaster together, I guess. So I think it's a great little stat there, a great little news story. Let me share this next story here, and we're going to get into some St. Augustine development here too. But these are important, of course. So, as we talk about the market, mortgage demand rises despite volatile interest rates. So, total application volume rose 6.5% last week compared with the previous week. This past week, because of what's happened with the bank, it's made treasury bonds go down just slightly because treasury bonds are a better investment. So, now we're seeing interest rates at 6.5%. They've come down about a half a point this past week, which is a pretty good distance to make in a couple of days. So despite rates being higher, mortgage applications to purchase a home increased 7% for the week, but we're still 38% lower than the same week 1 year ago. So the one thing I would say with that is that's actually not that staggering of a statistic. 38% lower, yeah, I mean that's a huge amount. Not denying that at all. But last year this time interest rates were 3.5%. So I mean that's like a fire sale at that point. But either way, I thought that was a good news story to cover. Let's head on to what's going on in downtown St. Augustine. We're talking about doing some redevelopment that could definitely affect that area for at least 12 months. They say it's going to take 12 months, but I think it's going to be a little bit more than that, as construction projects always do take longer. And in today's world, it seems that if anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. So let's take a look here. That's this next news story here. So King Street Bridge will result in disruptive detour in 2024. So they're looking to change the King Street Bridge, which goes over the San Sebastian River. This is kind of a write-up of what they want to do. Looks like that coming into downtown, it's only going to be one lane and a bike lane, and coming out, you're going to have that turning lane onto US 1 and another and a bike lane as well, another road and a bike lane. Now, the problem is that this is going to take 14 months, right? And they said that it could be up to 11 months where they have to detour traffic. Now, anytime you get any type of estimate from, what government work is going to happen, I would almost double it. It's going to be a $14 million price to replace that bridge over the San Sebastian River. And just to give you an idea here, this is looking north. This is US 1 right here. This is King Street right here. And then this is the intersection. So Flagler College student housing is right here. I think over here you got Carmelo's on the corner, Crave, and a little Whetstone chocolate place down there too, I think. But this is where they're going to be redoing the bridge, and they're looking to reroute traffic up to Malaga Street here and have people come back down in there, which, I mean, that is going to be a shit show. It is not going to be good, and especially if you're doing that through Night of Lights. I mean, that main entry there is probably like 15 minutes to get into downtown with gridlock traffic just going over that bridge. So when you add going into a residential neighborhood on top of that main street being closed, that's just going to be terrible. It's not going to be great. We'll see what happens. I'll of course keep up on it as it happens, and I'll probably give you a live drive-by because more than likely we'll have family in town that want to go downtown to see Night of Lights, and it's just what you got to do sometimes. I don't think anyone really enjoys doing that stuff, but hey, we got to do it, right? Family's in town, got to show them a good time. On to the next news story, guys. All right, so let's see here. St. Augustine, that's not it, sorry. St. Augustine events are seeing pre-pandemic level crowds. Now, the one main thing they're talking about is the Players Championship and also the Celtic Festival, which they had this past weekend. They just had the St. Patrick's Day Parade as well, and they actually saw a good bit of crowds coming out compared to recent years. That's totally understandable considering the pandemic. And for the most part, our area hasn't been as affected by the pandemic as other areas. But these outdoor events, these large events that our tourist town pretty much thrives on. Those have obviously been not as great. So the Players Championship, obviously a big golf tournament here in Ponte Vedra Beach, and then the Celtic Festival. It's just that time of year, but we're going to see a lot more live events coming, and it looks like it's going to be a good year for St. Johns County. So let's go on to the next news story, and this is one that I've been covering and been staying on top of the best that I can. But it's about homelessness here in St. Johns County. It doesn't seem like they're going to do anything, but they keep talking about building a place, and that's what they're talking about doing as of right now. They want to build or at least renovate a building so that they can address homelessness in St. Johns County. That's pretty much it. The overall feeling downtown is one that it needs to be addressed. Like, yep, that's what people have been saying for literally years. But maybe it's starting to get a little bit of activity here. But they actually interviewed a homeless man in St. Augustine. He said that he thinks it's a good idea. Why not give it a shot? Anything is better than nothing. They haven't done nothing. This is a dead end. This is a road to nowhere. Okay. He said the scary part about being homeless in the area is every day you see new faces, which means the population continues to grow. So, I mean, he's also talking about the homeless population. So he's not familiar with a lot of the people he's seeing. So they reached out to the sheriff and he wasn't available today, but me and him talked about that. And we're talking about the city buying a building. Now everyone's kind of in agreement that they need to have some type of shelter where you also have services, mental health services, food services, and just overall health services for these guys. It's definitely an issue here in town that we're seeing unfold right in front of our eyes. And a lot of that has to do with the pandemic, of course. Things changed drastically these past couple of years, but I know they're doing the best they can down there, but just being outside, which I always will be, I'll be overly critical, and I think they could be doing a lot better job. But getting a handle on this, might need to do some research and see what other cities have done well. If you've seen anything work in any of the cities across the country that you think would be a good application to the city of St. Augustine, let me know in the comments below. I think it'd be great to open up a discussion about that. And yeah, we'll see. I'm thinking that I'm going to try and get an interview with the mayor. See what happens. Give me a like or a thumbs up if you think I can get one, and see what they think about it and what their plan is. Because I know it's got to be in the grand scheme for St. Johns County as we grow. They almost have to factor it in. But it has become more and more of a problem where residents are complaining, business owners are complaining, visitors are complaining. So they're going to have to start doing something. And in Duval County, they actually talked about outlawing panhandling altogether. So the reason they said is because safety. You're on a highway panhandling, you're going to get hit by a car. But in reality, it's because they're trying to fight the homeless problem, because in Jacksonville, you have the same issues that you do here. It's beautiful weather. People like to come down here, and we're pretty lax, it seems, on what we can do with them. So we'll see what happens here in the future, guys. We'll see what happens here in the future, guys. But I think that's going to call it for me, guys, tonight. I appreciate you being here. Here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. going over the market stats, the local news you need to know about if you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing. And we're doing a Q&A at the end. And this time we didn't have any questions, so I don't have any answers. Maybe I never did. But guys, appreciate you. Until next Wednesday at 8 p.m. I'll see you then.